Tonight on Bridge City News, the Ontario government apologizes for accidentally sending out a false alarm this morning, warning of a problem at the Pickering nuclear plant. More memorials are held in Canada to honor victims of the jetliner incident in Iran, while Iranian civilians protest their own government's actions. And recovery efforts are now underway after U.S. states in the South and Midwest were hammered by storms and tornadoes, killing 11 people.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Paul Arthur.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Western separatist group Wexit Canada has been granted federal party eligibility status by Elections Canada. A Facebook post says the party plans to nominate 104 candidates, one for each federal riding in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, and compete in every Western federal by-election between now and the next general election. Wexit also held a rally yesterday at the Legislature building in Edmonton, demanding that Premier Jason Kenney hold a provincial referendum to separate from Canada. The group has been getting some mixed feedback to billboard signs it posted calling for Prime Minister Trudeau to be locked up. The Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs representing 5 clans are urging the RCMP to stand down after Coastal GasLink posted an injunction order last week, giving opponents 72 hours to clear the way toward its work site in northern BC. It says police retain discretion as to the timing and manner of enforcement of this order. However, the company also says posting the order was procedural and that it has no plans to request police action. Opponents to the natural gas pipeline held a rally Friday in Smithers, BC.
We said no, we mean no, no means no.
No means no!
Quite often, we think that because we are where we are in this world, that we are alone. But you have to realize we never stand alone. The world is watching. We know the world is watching because the United Nations sent requests to Canada to listen to the Indigenous people of this country, of this province. You hear the United Nations Committee to Eradicate Racial Discrimination constantly stating there is a need for free, prior, and informed consent. That has not happened with the Wet'suwet'en. It has not happened with the Secwepemc. When they specifically point out 3 major projects in this province, and this province is touting itself as the first one in Canada to uphold and implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, we need more than words. We need more than a piece of paper. They need to listen to the world as well as yourselves and ourselves.
The Wet'suwet'en people are standing up strong and are taking a clear stance against the destruction of our future, against the destruction of our headwaters that feed all of these rivers that we all depend on, that our livelihoods depend on.
The First Nations groups are planning on holding nation-to-nation talks with the provincial and federal governments to address infringements to rights and title. The Ontario government will conduct a full investigation into why a province-wide alarm went off in error this morning, warning of a problem at the Pickering nuclear plant east of Toronto. A second alert saying the first alarm was a mistake followed 90 minutes later. A statement from the Ontario government says the first alarm was a training exercise and should not have been sent to the public. Solicitor General Sylvia Jones says there was never a danger to the public and that the Government of Ontario sincerely apologizes for raising public concern. Canadian Space Agency astronauts Jenny Sidney Gibbons and Joshua Kutrick celebrated the end of their basic training this weekend, along with their NASA classmates during a ceremony at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Their class was the first to be supervised by a Canadian astronaut, Jeremy Hansen.
One of the pinnacles of human achievement is the moon landing. It's so memorable and it means so much to so many people, not just in America, this country that led that charge and succeeded, but to everyone on Earth. So I think it's just this sort of shared achievement, and I think we'll experience that again when we open those opportunities up to all sorts of people. And I think the first woman landing on the moon will be will mean so much to so many people. It's going to be a unifying event.
Ladies and gentlemen, the newest NASA astronaut, Jonathan Kim.
What I hope to be able to contribute to leave behind is the foundation for future explorers to come to the moon as a staging area for further research, for further resource gathering, to be able to launch and explore even further. I hope that my participation in Artemis will plant the seeds of big dreams for young people watching.
The Federal Conservative Party has set the rules for its leadership race, which officially gets underway on Monday and ends June 27th. Those hoping to replace current leader Andrew Scheer will need the signatures of 3,000 party members and put up a $300,000 entry fee, $200,000 of which is non-refundable. Candidates will get back the other $100,000 if they follow all the rules. Candidates must enter the contest by February 27th and will have until March 25th to meet the requirements in order to be fully approved. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau attended a memorial in Edmonton today where the Iranian community is in mourning. 13 of the 57 Canadians killed in the jetliner incident in Iran were from the Edmonton area. Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland attended a vigil this morning at the University of Toronto to remember 6 students killed in the crash of the Ukrainian plane. An emotional Freeland, who is of Ukrainian background, said the crash was a loss for all of Canada, saying nothing will ever replace these brilliant lives that have been cut short. The dead included 11 people from Ukraine. Iran's security forces deployed in large numbers across Tehran today as protests continue, with Iranian civilians upset about the government's initial denial of shooting down the civilian airliner. President Trump tweeted support to the protesters this morning, writing, "The world is watching." A number of Iranian newspapers included headlines denouncing the government's actions as shameful. Authorities say severe storms sweeping across southern portions of the U.S. and into the Midwest are responsible for the deaths of at least 11 people. Recovery efforts are now beginning after high winds, tornadoes, and unrelenting rain battered large sections of the country, flooding highways in Oklahoma and Arkansas, knocking out power to hundreds of thousands of people from Texas to Ohio, and causing hundreds of cancellations at Chicago airports. Saudi Arabia's Aramco announced today that its initial public offering raised a record $29.4 billion US. That figure is higher than previously announced. The company says the sale of an additional 450 million shares took place during the initial public offering process. The state-owned oil and gas company began trading on the Saudi exchange on December 11th. It quickly gained a market capitalization of $2 trillion US, making it the world's most valuable company. Advocacy group Human Rights Watch says Hong Kong authorities barred its leader from entering Chinese territory today. Executive Director Kenneth Roth had planned to launch the group's annual World Report in Hong Kong this week. Human Rights Watch says the report will highlight the Chinese government's intensifying assault on the international human rights system. Roth says the refusal to let him enter Hong Kong vividly illustrates the problem. It turns out Prince Harry and Meghan aren't able to walk away from their royal roles so easily. Queen Elizabeth is holding a crisis meeting to work out a future for the two. She has summoned both grandsons, Harry and Prince William, and their father, Prince Charles, to a retreat north of London. Numerous details need to be worked out, such as who will pay for the couple's taxpayer-funded security and what money-making activities they can undertake. Recapping one of our top news stories, the Ontario government has apologized for accidentally sending out a false alarm this morning, warning of a problem at the Pickering nuclear plant. They promised to launch an investigation as to what went wrong. And a look at weekend weather. The deep freeze will continue for most of this week. A 40% chance of flurries overnight and a low of -26 and a wind chill of -36. Tomorrow, again, a 40% chance of flurries with a high of -24 and a wind chill of -38. Bundle up or stay indoors. Marriage relationships can be one of the most challenging things any of us will ever face. Often we have certain expectations going into marriage, only to be disappointed years later. Pastor Daniel Zapula has a very interesting take on all of this, and he has authored a new book on it. That interview is straight ahead. But first, here's a look at what's happening in and around your community.
Here's your Bridge City News Community Calendar. Warm your hearts this season and come enjoy the Winter Light Festival at the Nikayugo Japanese Garden until January 31st. Gates are open from 6 to 9 p.m. Experience the illumination of over 100,000 lights decorating the beautifully shaped trees and garden. Admission is $9 for adults, $7 for kids ages 6 to 15, and various ticket packages are also available. For more information, visit nikayugo.com. Blankets for Canada Lethbridge meets Thursdays from 10 a.m. to noon at Southminster United Church. Share your knitting and crocheting skills to keep those who are in need in our community warm. Donations of yarn and financial gifts are greatly appreciated and can be dropped off at the church. For more information, visit blanketsforcanada.ca or call 403-329-6586. And that's your Bridge City News Community Calendar.